Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about Libra relationships part 2. And yes, this does apply and pertain to the sun, moon, and ascendant. Anyway, people, first thing up is some of you may have seen my first series on the zodiac signs and relationships. And that was geared more toward more specific relationships for the various zodiac signs. Now, based on probable signs on house cusp, which would be based on solar or natal charts for the 12 zodiac signs. But this one is more generic in general, and I'm going to talk about in this one specifically, as far as Libra goes, how they act generally speaking in relationship matters. So anyway, people, first thing up, well, as far as Libra and relationships go, well, they're generally not difficult to get along with. They can often make very good mediators and are actually ones that can actually intervene in situations which are in contentious situations involving mutual friends. And they could often help reconcile those people. These are the people that are often the mediators, the people that will intervene, try to reconcile situations, as opposed to escalating a situation potentially or creating discord and strife. They are generally not going to be about that. They can be the consummate negotiator in relationships, and they will often be able to compromise and see other people's points. They may often be the first ones to attempt a reconciliation if there is some kind of argument that may have taken place between that person and someone else. Now, this is also, I consider Libra the relationship diplomat. They are often very diplomatic and tactful, and they are ones that will often try to articulate their points very carefully and in a prudent manner, in a way which will come off really in a polite manner, but they will still often get their point across. And I mean, Libras are generally non-confrontational and non-combative. However, I mean, they will fight for justice and their rights. If they see something that is not fair or equitable, they will still often speak up at that point in time, though they generally will avoid the confrontations and scenes if necessary. Libra will often go to great lengths to try to find peace and tranquility in their life. They like to, I mean, if you're with a Libra in a relationship, Libra will often look for a place, as far as a residence goes, that will be in a relatively low crime rate. That is, I mean, often imperative for Libra. So anyway, and the thing about Libra too is Libra often likes people that are very reticent and humble. They could be enamored with modesty. If you are someone that is rather arrogant, egotistical, bombastic, and constantly talking about yourself, they may be put off a little bit by that. They are ones that are generally, I mean, they are about really holding back. I remember when I was talking to a Sun in Libra on the phone one time, and she had stated to me, you know, that's like the, I don't know, fifth or something thing that you said about yourself in this conversation, and she reminded me of it. But anyway, and I didn't feel like I was being arrogant or you know, egotistical or what have you. But you know, Libras may point it out to you if you do, if you are constantly talking about or what might be perceived or construed as boasting about your own abilities and your own positives. So, however, Libra can be good at getting others to talk about themselves, not necessarily in a bragging or boastful way, but just talking about themselves and their interests, their attributes, or what have you, their abilities, and what maybe, and just things that may interest them in their hobbies and so forth and so on, just about others, about themselves, and they'll get others to talk about themselves in general. Now, the thing about it is, with Libra too, they're often about intellectual sociability. They often strive for peace and harmony in their relationships, but going to the intellectual sociability thing, Libra will often bounce ideas off a significant other or a close friend, and they will, you'll get them to, this is something that they could be very good at. And the thing about Libra too, what I notice is that, the thing with them, they're not ones you would think to be overly disputatious or argumentative, but you can get some Libras that, because of this sign of balance and seeing the different points of the other point of view, Libras can be good at debate, perhaps for that reason. You take for classic case in point. Many of you sports fans out there may have seen that show on ESPN called First Take, and what it is, it's a show, a sports show where Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman debate regarding various sports topics. Stephen A. Smith has his son in Libra. And I think a lot of times, and this is nothing I don't know 100%, but I do believe in a lot of these instances I'm suspicious of on that show, and of course many of these other sports shows that you have, these people will deliberately, I think, take the other stance that the opposite side of what the person that they're debating against takes, just really to make the show interesting and see both vantage points, to see both sides of the story. So what I'm getting at with Stephen A. Smith, that he is being a Libra, I think a lot of times this show could be almost perfect for him, because it allows him to give the other side of the issue on the subjects that he disagrees with Max Kellerman on, which of course are plentiful, and there's a plethora of them that they do disagree on. So anyway, because it's kind of like balancing the scales thing, I think, with some Libras. Now, the thing about Libra too is that they often will like to do projects, whether it's with a close friend or someone they're in an intimate relationship with. They will often like to collaborate on projects with those people, because Libra is about doing things with others. It's not that they don't have any ability to be self-reliant or independent, but it just seems like it's a strong preference with them. They're just so relationship oriented. Libra is the sign that corresponds with relationships, and Libra often needs that significant other in close friendships a lot more than other people may need. And so if Libra is without somebody, they could take it. If they don't have that significant other in their lives, they are ones that can really be very devastated by that. They could really take that really harder than a lot of other people can. But the thing about Libra too is, if Libra is in a situation with a significant other and they break up with one person, I think they can often bounce back and get somebody to supplant that person that they had the breakup with, because they are just, they are just so connected with relationships. They're just so synonymous with relationships, partnership situations, that they really it's like they really can't be often by themselves for too long a period. Libra is just so sociable, and they often just need to have that person that they can be talking with and be bouncing those ideas off with, and having love in their life, because remember that Libra is ruled by Venus. So this is a sign for them. It's just really imperative to have somebody in their life almost continually, I think. And it's not that the fact that Libra goes through a devastating breakup, don't get me wrong, they might go through a little period before finding someone else, but what I'm saying, it's not like they're completely cold or callous, but they will but at the same time, because they're so relationship oriented, they will often try to get someone relatively soon after the breakup, even if it was a very close, super intimate relationship, and that they knew that person for a long time prior to breaking up. So anyway, well, another thing about Libra, well, the thing about that may exasperate others as far as relationships go with Libra, is that Libra can be very ambivalent and indecisive, and a lot of times this is attributed to them weighing the pros and the cons of a situation. And they can really be, and they could debate this over in their minds for an indefinite period. And this could really, grate on some people's nerves at times. So if you're with a Libra, a lot of times you might have to wait a little bit until they come to a decision on something for that reason. And I think some of the things, like if you're with Libra, they may like to do. Well, I think it's interesting. You look at prolific tennis stars, Venus and Serena Williams. Venus Williams has Libra rising. Serena Williams is a sun in Libra. And they have played doubles a number of times together in tennis, I believe. Even in tennis or any sport or any activity that Libra has an opportunity to do something with somebody else, they will often capitalize on it. And Libra really, as far as what they could be interested in, if you're with a Libra in a relationship or a close friendship or what have you, it could be artistic endeavors such as drawing, painting, sculpting, decorating. Libra may like to sing. They may be interested too in things that of a legal nature. They might like to play like board games connected with the law, such as like a Law and Order board game if they do have it, or there's a game entitled Lawsuit and another one called See You in Court. And really the thing about Libra too, in their connections, and this fact that they are so equitable and fair-minded, they are ones, they can make really very good parents because of their sense of balance. And being, say, if a Libra has multiple children in their life, well, they could be very good at dispersing the time evenly with those children. And right there, that shows they really can have that ability to be fair-minded with children. It can make them very good parents. And the thing too is, if Libra, another thing about Libra and relationships go, if Libra has you over their place for dinner, now it may be very clean, it may not be as immaculate as say Virgo on average, but Libra is often very refined. They often like to have a place looking attractive. Virgo is more because they just like to be super neat about things, and Virgos can be borderline neat freaks, but Libra is more about the appearance, I think, of things and having the appearance look attractive and pristine. That is why Libra can also be very clean. For that reason, they're very refined, often very cultured. They don't like to be disheveled. They like to have a good appearance. And also be very clean for their sexual partner, especially. So if you're in a sexual intimate relationship with Libra, well, the positive thing is because they are often they emphasize cleanliness, often being very clean. You really don't have to worry too much about anything malodorous when you're with them. So much like Virgo, but anyway. And the thing about Libra is Libras can often be very attractive, which is a bonus as well. And even if they're not attractive, their mannerisms can be rather graceful and attractive. Now, however, though, Libra in a rather negative manifestation may exhibit a little bit of a superficial charm, which can irritate some signs. Some Libras may use that superficial charm perhaps to manipulate others too. And also too, the thing about Libra too is that they are generally, they are about love and relationships often very strongly. However, they're not really as deep as some of the other signs, say like Cancer or Scorpio. And the thing about that is something that may irritate, say, someone like a Cancer or Scorpio, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant. And the thing too, though, is with Libra, if you want to maintain and retain a connection with them, I think it's simply to be fair-minded and give them what they feel is fair and equitable time. If you're somebody that's an overly boisterous, acrimonious, combative person, this can rebuff Libra and push them out of your life. And The thing about Libra too is if Libra does become angry in a relationship, they may resort to passive aggressive behavior. If they become an adversary, they may battle you legally till the bitter end, because Libra often can be very knowledgeable and informed about the law. I mean, that is one of their things that they often can have extensive knowledge about, even if many are not attorneys. This is just something that they seem to be connected with. They generally, though, the thing about Libra in relationships is that they Libra can be have a very even temperament, and will often not let their personal issues impact their relationships. If you're somebody that is very subjective type and you're letting your emotions get the better of you, you're letting your personal problems, you're taking out some issues you have on Libra, this is something what Libra can be rebuffed at, and it could really irritate them. And this is a way where you might wind up being in a breakup situation with Libra. Now, given that Libra can have such an even temperament, it can be really bewildering and shocking to others if Libra becomes recalcitrant or petulant or irritated or angry, because they are just so really consistent with their personalities. They don't like to let extraneous things impact their relationships with others. Now, but the thing about Libra too in relationships is that they can follow what I would consider, I guess, the fair value system. I mean, I'll give you an example. In case I had one Libra rising friend I felt like I was becoming a little bit close with, even though it was just, virtual online connection mainly. And, I talked about this in at least one previous video, but if you hadn't seen it, I'm going to talk about it now. Now, the thing about it is, and it was about a couple of years ago, I had got irritated at something she had stated to me, and I wound up, consequently, I wound up blocking her. And I mean, over 2 years have gone by, and we've never spoken since. But the point I'm making is that basically, I think Libra follows that fair value system. Like, for instance, I block a Libra, on a social media site or what have you. And basically, at that point in time, I think a lot of them are like, well, whatever, if that person's blocking me, I'm just going to forget about him or her. They could basically do the same thing that you can do, and they can just move forward, because Libra does have, I mean, as I stated before, Libra is the sign that corresponds with relationships. They can, I mean, they know how to move forward in that sector of life, perhaps more so than any of the other zodiac signs, because of that. I mean, Libra is a masculine sign. They have certain confidence and self-assuredness. They're not overly pessimistic. They generally feel confident, I think, that they can move forward when one relationship is eradicated or comes to an end, or connection, I should say. In this case, I don't know if you even call what I had with that person actual relationship, but you know what I'm saying. One that could have been a potential relationship. When one comes to an end, one can actually begin shortly after for Libra. And anyway, and also the thing about Libra too is what's interesting now. Libra, again, is not one generally that's going to be about combat or confrontation, but however, because it's a sign so synonymous with relationships, they can also, Libra in a very negative manifestation, can also be good, not just reconciling people, but they can know how to break people up and cause disruptions and disputes in people's relationships, probably better than any other zodiac sign. So anyway, people, that will conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Libra Relationships Part 2. Stay tuned next time, where I'll be talking about Scorpio Relationships Part 2. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Till next time, people, stay well.